Hello, and welcome back to TRUEsDays. My name is Noah.
And my name is Gavin.
And we're here to talk about Night Country, Part 6, the finale. And that's quite the task. So we've called in two very special agents. You know him. You love him. He's back. Special Agent Twohig.
Special Agent 2 here.
And joining us for the first time on the Archive Network, Special Agent Williams.
I don't know.
Both of these gentlemen join us from the Twin Peaks office. Hello, Mr. Williams. Hello, Agent Williams.
Glad to be here.
Appreciate you joining us, to discuss the big last hurrah, the big finale. Okay, and now is when we drop the voice because it's way too hard to maintain and nobody wants to hear that. But yeah,
I feel like it probably doesn't read well, but
Thank
sweating. Yeah.
Thank you for playing along. That's Barham you heard talking there, and you recognize Evan from last week, and of course you've heard Gavin and I for the last 5 weeks now, and hopefully beyond that. But hopefully we got some new listeners here because you like what HBO's cooking up. Okay, the big question, top of everybody's mind. We're gonna go around the horn here. How are we feeling? We're about an hour removed from the finale, I think, for most of us finishing it. And how's it sitting? How's it resting with everybody? I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to our first time guest. Let's go with Mr. Barham Williams. Just overall general thoughts. How did the finale strike you?
My thoughts are on that tongue, Noah. My thoughts are on that tongue.
Okay.
I want to know. They've still written the line of like what's supernatural and what's just psychosis. But no, it was right there. Like everything was right there. I kept like up until the end. I thought they were gonna do some like Dyatlov Pass weird, infrasound fucked with people's minds kind of thing, and it was all right there. And it was a lot simpler. I absolutely loved it.
Okay. Brief, succinct, to the point. I love it. We're gonna transition over to Special Agent Evan Twohig. Again, I went with
fucking bananas, dude. Bananas, bro.
Good bananas, tasty bananas.
I'm not sure. Like I'm like so undecided. There was just a moment in the episode where I said, "No fucking way!" Like,
okay.
I just started dying laughing, but I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude!" Like I'm all right. Let's do it. Like, and I just buckled up and I was like, I'm along for the ride, baby. Like, I'm not even mad about this. But I did say, what in the actual fuck out loud?
Okay, I can't wait to discuss when that happened. And finally, my big brother. What'd you think, Gav?
My general assumption is we get the world we deserve.
That's your way of saying season 2
is no.
Is way better.
This season is exactly what we deserve.
Okay, I like that.
It's just one of those where it's like, you can see so many, like, if we haven't already stated it, if you're any sort of an avid film and television watcher and you know this show, like you've watched every season and you go into this blind, not knowing a thing, to me, it's very obvious. This was written by someone who truly loved that first season.
Yeah.
But understood, there are 2 more seasons after that, and I'm getting the chance to put my stamp on the 4th. I don't know if we go any further, but if we don't, this isn't a bad one to write out on. I'm okay with how they ended it with it's kind of like it's like the symbolism and the spiral, and I believe we heard it again. Time is a flat circle, and we're just all living in it. Like that to me, that whole thing in this season, it's like season 2. Nothing matters. It doesn't matter. It's not anything, but it's also everything. You know what I mean? Like when we get towards the end and we see, and again, I love the play on multiple stories and the overall play of like, I'm gonna tell you this, but I'm not necessarily going to tell you that this is like, you're not going to know if this is actually how it happened or if I'm full of shit or what story you're believing. Cause there's like multiple things you could say about this with everything from the Annie K investigation to what happened to these dudes, all that. So I thought it was great. I enjoyed it.
I'm gonna make an observation on the back of that. The camera, the camera in this show is the true detective.
Boom.
Seriously,
That was
think
great,
about it.
boys. I'll see you guys next week. All right.
All right, we can wrap it up. Thanks for showing up, guys.
Gold, pure gold.
Okay. I fucking loved it. I don't know what to tell you guys. Literally, I mean, I it's not like I was sitting there like checking off my checklist, but everything we talked what I basically sat with for like the half hour after I watched it was I was like, all right, where was the loose thread? Like what didn't come together? What was kind of superfluous? What did we not need in those prior 5 episodes? And personally, I couldn't come up with it. It was one of those finales that I thought was so strong that it retroactively made the season itself that much stronger. And I was like
The-
fully knocked out by it. Even though, again, some of it was like, oh, it was payoffs that I kind of saw coming or had mused about, but it's like they weren't satisfying because of that. They were satisfying because they were extremely well executed and true to what the series had been thus far, at least as I understand it. So I was knocked out by it. We Barum, again, I know you haven't listened, but we don't really go through like chronologically. We more just like it's just kind of free flowing from here. We all had varying
It's flat
levels of
schedules. Yeah.
yes.
I
So
just gotta give kudos to Noah from I think was it Noah or Gavin from episode 1 says these guys did something bad.
oh that was that
Yeah,
yeah, I was like, I don't
Oh,
that was
absolutely.
I
totally
was
no.
like,
I was
I saw it. I was like, they fucking nailed that.
well,
Spoiler alert.
we talked in our previous episode about like, well, maybe it wasn't all of them. Turns out it was fucking all of them.
Yeah.
It's definitely
Every
all of them.
class.
One fucking let's dive in right there. Uh, that was one of like actually seeing what happened was one of the more upsetting scenes I've seen in
Yeah.
recent memory because of the emotional investment in that character. And it's like we kind of knew, but we didn't fully know. And being like actually in that room, I found like just incredibly upsetting. That really that hit me in the gut. That was tough to watch. And like again, not gratuitous at all. You don't see anything really, but we know what happened. We've seen the aftermath of it. Yeah, I don't know.
Can I take
That
it?
really played for me. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna be the only person to take a counterpoint to that.
Oh,
Yes, it's
absolutely.
like
Go ahead.
yeah. So, dude, 100% that in and of itself is an upsetting scene. Of course, I'm one of those people. I kind of wish that we would have seen. You remember the birthing scene? I don't know if it was episode 3 or 4 or whatever it was, but with
Yeah.
like, I feel like if you want to have any sort of emotional connection to the character, really, I feel like I was more emotionally connected to Kaylee Reese's character than I was to Annie K, and her caring about that made me care about the situation, I suppose. But like, I feel like we probably needed more scenes like the birthing scene. Whoever that girl was, that actress was fantastic in that. Like,
I guess I also like I do somewhat look at her as a stand-in for all of the indigenous women, which becomes very like
Yeah.
relevant in the back half of this episode. But
right.
so I'm like bringing a lot of that baggage onto it where it's like, well, I knew she was an activist and like she was actively looking into these things and like, oh, they killed her for it. And the ultimate reveal of like it was actually the Salal scientist who were paying or encouraging the mining facility to do more pollution so that it would be easier to farm the thing, basically. What I was hoping would be the thing, you know, as a
I,
whole other series we could make.
I
Night
just,
Country Part
I guess,
2.
I don't know. I guess I maybe get more emotionally connected to like an individual character. That was the only reason I brought that up. Was because I kind of wish I would have known her a little better because I would have cared far more watching.
Oh, I feel you. And that's something Gavin and I talked about on one of our earlier episodes was like prior seasons kind of situate the victim in a way that like only as they relate to the detective and like, you know, how traumatic it is for them looking at all of this stuff, not necessarily like actually making a three-dimensional it's like I can tell you the name Dora Lang, I can tell you Marie Fontenot, but I can't tell you
Nothing about it.
anything about them at all. Like
Yeah.
I can't tell you anything about them as people, really. I can tell you a little bit about Dora, I guess, based on like Charlie and blah blah. Sorry, we don't have to get off in season one, but just like,
Now, if I remember, no, Dora Lang
oh my
or
God, Gavin.
Marie Fontenot, she went back with her father now, and the case was
Gavin
closed.
doesn't speak
Did you
for
not
like
read the
5 minutes and just waits for like, when's the perfect time to derail everything?
Bad situation. No.
Oh God. But yeah, no, that's something we talked about where it's like, usually we don't really get to know the victim this much. And so I guess to that extent, I did feel like this was a big step forward in as much as we did get that one flashback. We did get constantly tying it back to her and what's happening to like other indigenous women. We never get full answers on like how Navarro's mom died. We know she was murdered and it was never solved. Not that I thought that was like I guess that is a loose thread I just randomly now thought of, but
Well,
But not
sorry, go ahead.
directly,
let me give you an
Yeah,
example. Like season 3,
mhm,
we see, we got Scoot McNairy's character, whatever, and the mom, and so
for
sure,
sure.
we don't have to know the kids, but we see the damage that it does to their parents, and like that's enough almost, and like just to see like the scope of the damage. It would have been acceptable to not know Annie K in this season, but then know her family a little bit. That to me would be like
True.
I feel
it's
like
still effective.
I feel like we did get her influence though, because I felt like that really played on Jodie Foster and how she was concerned for her daughter was because of the
True.
Annie K thing. And so I feel like it did reflect out in other ways. Like it played
She's
a
a stand-in.
part in kind
She's
of
a stand
understanding the backstories a little bit.
like she's a stand-in for Annie K. Like she's still alive and she's doing the same thing essentially.
Yeah, like it tied in. Everything was so interlinked, and I really loved how much they like kind of left out the backstory, but you could see the impact of their backstories throughout every episode. And it felt like Annie K was just always like 1 or 2 degrees away from pretty much everything going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll buy that. I mean, when you mentioned, I think you mentioned something earlier too. That made me think. I was like, all right, I'll like. There's probably some other things in there. It's like, hey, this is same, not different. But even though it's not the same exact, individual,
I will
and
say
it's
one
not.
thing going back to just the actual murder scene that I really liked was when they showed they kind of linked I forget his name, but the Salal scientist that was alive, they kind of
Clark.
linked him
Clark.
with the
Gotta
main
keep your eye
character.
on Clark. Sorry.
Yeah.
Gotta watch
So
Dude's
Clark.
when
shifty.
he's describing what happened and we're seeing his memory of it or we're seeing the recall of it, but it's different and he's strangling her and that's not it differs from what he's saying. It was the same way that they did, you know, what was the case where she Navarro shot the guy?
The Wheeler case. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wheeler. I keep wanting to say Mercer. But Wheeler is that same thing where you have the narrative that is like directly contrasted with what we're seeing on the screen, and that also felt very season one.
Okay. So I've said it multiple times in different conversations with you guys and on this podcast, but I was like, I don't know that like I need to see who actually pulled the trigger. And then they actually showed it to us, and I was like, oh, that was actually a really impressive scene. Because it's still the note that they played with it. I was like, well, I didn't expect that exact note. But where she's like, I was about to do it myself. Just like boom, point blank, Navarro does it. I was like, yeah, I'm glad they actually took the time to throw that in there. Uh,
Now, hang on. So, real quick with
yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
we were just talking about with the guys, the one who was the ringleader, that's the one who made it the furthest and
Yes,
then died in the
Lund,
hospital, right? Lund, right?
correct. Yes.
Okay, that
He
that
was the
was a
one
nice.
who started attacking her initially. Yes.
Right. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. I just wasn't sure in the moment. And I was like, if that is the case, and that's perfect, that's like he has that like he survived everything that happened to him only to get to that point where it's like, all right, well, I made it to the hospital. And genuinely, that's kind of like, okay, you might be okay. It's like, no, you're not. you
Yeah.
know, because again, when we find out exactly what happens to them, you can take what happened to Lund as like, oh no, he seized out because he's been in the cold, or you can be like, maybe somebody else who works at that hospital who might have been out there, when he was told he needed to just keep walking, maybe they made sure that he wasn't going to be able to make it to talk to anybody right before he passed away. Because I love what they do with this at the over end thing of like, it's really, I mean, if you didn't know it by now, guys, the season's about women. It's all about women. It's like no matter what, they're always going to be there. You know, you
I'll
think you
get to
have the power, but they actually have the power. Think about it. In every season.
Oh, I don't disagree with that as a principle, and I think that that's
Mhm.
actually probably true in real life. But like,
Right.
but I that was the point at which I busted out laughing in this episode was when it took such a hard left turn where it's like, yeah, it's like a female dominant season, like I'm on board with that. That's awesome. But when I found out it was the cleaning crew that somehow was accessing evidence that was not under lock and key, taking pictures of evidence and hijacking a
Not a
whole.
not a hang up for me at
No,
all.
because
No,
I
I
didn't.
mean it's fine. And so
That
I said the same thing.
entire sequence was
Just
me just like fucking let's go. I was just like get these boys out on the ice. I was like strip them down. I was like we've been asking the whole fucking season what would make these guys go out on I was like this is the answer. I was like
I was like,
this
yeah.
is the fucking
I was
answer
literally
right here.
towards the end. I
I
was like,
just
is the
said
one-eyed polar
guys,
bear going to come in and chase them out, or like what's going to happen? Like, what would do it? That's why I was getting the Dyatlov Pass thing. Like,
Well,
is this some
when we
weird
get the
scientific?
shot earlier of Clark like holding the hatch and we're hearing all of this stuff above, and of course, in my deepest part of me, I always secretly hope I'm like, I hope there's something with tentacles up there. Hope there's something with tentacles up there just like fucking around with shit and like just swallowing dudes into a black abyss and
Do you
a
know
dark
about
cosmic void that we'll never fully understand. But that's what I always secretly hope is happening up there, but I know we're never gonna see it. So when the payoff was that and the throat singing, which is an actual band and everything that they've used earlier in the season, like just blaring and it's them rushing it, I was like, dude, this is great. This is
I know, but like I said, it was just fucking bananas, dude. It was
loved it.
awesome. I just
I
fucking
loved
was
it.
laughing out loud, like because like she's like talking to them, and she's like, she's kind of like shaking, picking up her coffee mug. I'm like, these ladies just fucked this whole place
Dude,
up.
dude, the fact that they keep piling in one
That's it.
after
I
the
couldn't
other
stop
after
I know.
the
I
other,
laughing.
I'm
love
like,
this.
Couldn't
oh,
stop laughing.
okay, this is perfect because you could just see it. It's so subtle on both their faces.
Where were they
Evangeline's
sleeping?
like, oh, I'm
The
walking
house was
out of
in that
here.
cave.
I can, but we don't. Danvers is kind of like, I don't know if I need to. I think
They
I
all
can.
live in that
Yeah,
neighborhood,
I took
dude.
that as
They're
they saw the
just like they're
cops
all coming
and
in
they.
because it was like, hey, the cops are here. We should probably see what's going on. We should probably show some
Well,
strength in
I
numbers
also
here, the same way
definitely,
our dudes out at the encampment do.
I also definitely read the thread of like you are two people, like you may not walk out of here, like
You're
very
right.
clearly in that.
well, yeah, no,
Go
yes,
ahead, dude.
absolutely.
No, pick,
Sorry,
dude.
sorry.
Speak your
I watched
truth,
American.
brother.
I'm
That's
sorry.
why there's four of us here. That's why
I
there's four
watched
of us here.
and I'm not trying to play devil's advocate all night, but I watched American Fiction last night, and got it. Like, yes, we all want to watch some indigenous women fuck up a bunch of white dudes. Yes, it's gonna like it's gonna fill some sort of like satiate some sort of urge or whatever
I
appetite for
mean,
that sort of thing.
not
But
just some white dudes who were literally poisoning the earth and the community
oh yeah, no, listen, that's not lost on me. No,
under the
it's
guise
not.
of, "Look, we're gonna save millions, but
It's
we'll
not
kill
lost on me. It's not.
thousands and
No,
fuck you people." No,
let
I
me
know it's
explain.
I
Let me explain. Listen, yeah, I get it. Like they're evil. They're bad human beings. I think that for me it was just there was not like a hint of it anywhere like earlier in the season, I guess. And I felt like it was just like I just got slapped with it and I was like, what is going on? And I
I
just started
get
laughing.
I
I
guess
feel
I
like
would
there were
say
hints.
I feel like the biggest
Were there?
hint was the fact that the Tuttle that Tuttle Industries was the like foundation funding this organization. Like they're
Oh, I meant I
inherently
Oh,
meant
I'm
the I
talking.
meant
nefarious.
the
Yes.
I meant that the cleaning crew killed him.
Oh, I
No, I
thought
feel
you
like there
meant that
were.
like the
No, no,
guys
no,
would
like
kill Annie K.
totally
Gotcha, gotcha,
like
gotcha.
I have no
No,
there's no
okay.
part of me that's like,
There
how dare
no
they kill those
No, I feel
guys?
like
It's
that
like,
was
yeah,
foreshadowed
I'm
very
glad they
no,
clearly.
killed those
no,
guys, but
okay, so no guy so to that point, I think I pointed her out in the yeah, it was the previous episode because it's when the spiral comes back. The
uh
spiral stone that Kavik brings back to Navarro in the laundromat. And they bring back through the
okay.
redhead with the missing fingers again. And I pointed her out because I was like, okay, that's like the second or third time we've seen her.
Right.
She's been floating around in the background. And while we were sitting there speculating, it was right in our fucking faces, dude. We were always like, dude, they always show you the killer early. Like they always like pretty spell it out really early. They actually did it in the introductory scene of Navarro. They're basically like,
Yeah,
the person you should be looking at is right here, and it's the woman who just got assaulted, like, by her
and then
husband
she
or
hit the dude,
whatever.
and then she hit him with the fucking fire
And that's
extinguisher
a
or whatever it was.
microcosm
Yeah,
of
like,
the whole story, like,
it was
right
right
there in the
there.
opening scene. So that's why, again, when these are the payoffs or whatever, I again, sometimes I'm just like sometimes you just want something that's, like, satisfying because it's like, you did the work. Like, it was all fucking there, and, like,
Yeah.
And I didn't see it till the
it
end.
felt true to the narrative, but again,
Mhm.
didn't, like, beat me over the head with it. Again, where I say, like, the camera I was joking, but I'm like, really, the camera is the true detective, like, there it was all there the whole time. We weren't it's not that we weren't asking the right questions, we weren't looking in the right place because we were focused on, like, the plot, the story, what's happening here, and then there's also beyond that, the visual language of just, like, okay, they're in a laundromat on Christmas Eve or whatever, like, why or on New Year's Eve, why is there another person in this scene if they don't have dialogue? I wonder if they're gonna be relevant. Just like some of it is just like TV brain shit, but I'm
How do they
like,
access
I
all that evidence in the police station though, man?
Well, see, I
I
took
think
it
we've
as like,
established that the police are not exactly like,
Very good. Yeah.
top
Yeah, that's
notch
no, that's
at
fair.
their
She might have left
job.
it on her desk or something. I
Yeah.
don't know.
well, and
I
like I took it as like that kind of thing. Like it reminded me of there was a documentary on one of these more obscure streaming services, but it was about a guy in this town that was just the town bully. And one day he happened to be shot like 50 times
Yeah,
in
no
a
one
crowd.
saw a thing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know what
like
you're talking
and
about.
nobody saw what happened. Nobody in the town saw what happened at all.
Mhm.
I think the
So
most fucked up thing about that is the grandson being like, "Yeah, we watch a video about this in history class in this town, and I have to watch a video about my grandfather being murdered by the whole town and no one's saying
but
a
it's one
word."
of those where you
I
still
don't
like you
like it.
empathize. You watch it, you empathize with those people. Like I'm fully
Yeah, of course.
like on the side of that. So it's one of those of like just it felt like that whole like eventually like one thing was too many things and everybody kind of just
Yeah.
stuck their knife in and walked away and said, I saw shit.
Just
Okay. So,
just
oh, yeah.
I don't
Oh, go ahead, man.
listen, yeah, no, I agree, man. We definitely saw that same girl like 3 or 4 times throughout the season. Do you remember when we first meet the head, are they a cleaning crew? Sorry. I'm like, I'm not
Yeah,
asking this as like a joking way, like, I literally don't know because it seems like they are because they have access to the police
Yeah,
station, it's
I
all
think
and
that's the implication is like, yeah, they're the local town like cleaning ladies or whatever. Some of them are like
they showed them early
and the
on,
one
but
girl
or
works at
they
the
all
meat
just
packing plant or
yeah,
whatever.
whether they're part of the same crew or not, they may just all independently like, oh, that's what we do. We work in the service industry. It could be whatever at all these
Yeah,
different
totally.
locations, but they're all friends because it's small town. Everybody knows
yeah,
everybody. You
So
know,
either work the mine or you work
the
in service.
the head lady, when did we meet her in the show prior to this episode? Did we?
first scene. She's at is she not at the market as well? Because
Yeah,
she's the
she's the
one
one that was
defending the redhead to Navarro. Like,
yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
and
I hit that.
that's the only time we see her, and she's
Her in
essentially
particular, she's again, she was not on my radar. The redhead was just because, like,
right,
she reoccurred in weird places.
sure.
But yeah, the actual like lead lady who kind of has the monologue at the end, and
Okay, I did
in
not
my
remember
mind,
her
one
being
of the
in the first
best
episode.
best lines of this season, which I can't replicate here. I should have written it down. But anyways, uh yeah, I think we only she's probably around in there somewhere, I imagine, if we go back and look, but yeah.
I just didn't see it coming. They did a good job. I
They
didn't see
did
it
they
coming.
did a
I'll
good
tell you what.
job in a way that didn't feel to me like a gotcha moment that
Yeah,
felt, like,
it was earned.
unearned or forced, like, it or just, like, a convenient way to wrap everything up. It was a great kind of, you know, "Ah, I'm sorry there. Oh, one more thing." Just
Just one more thing.
yeah, sorry, Gavin does it a little bit better, yeah, sorry. You gotta get your Peter Falk going. Okay.
Peter
But it was
Falk.
really sad.
Excuse me, The Princess Bride
It's the
by Ash
Princess
Mo
Bride
by
by Ash
by Ash
Morgenstern.
Morgenstern. Yeah, there you go. That's how you get in the register. Anyways, but yeah, just one more thing. It very much felt like, oh shit, we missed something. And then as soon as they were, I was like, dude, fuck yeah. I was like, redhead. And then the two fingers thing, which
Oh yeah.
I didn't fully connect initially when they showed the handprint. I was like, the
Had to
fuck is that?
rewind a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there was a couple times in the episode where I was like, all right, let me make sure I got that. But okay, to backtrack and just like shout out some stuff that I love, we open with like the ice caves. And as a parallel to like, Childress's created Carcosa in the end of season one, I thought this was on par in terms of atmosphere, especially like the flashlights in the
Oh,
Mhm.
ice
yeah.
cave makes it feel so otherworldly that I love that again, we're getting that like, oh, we're in a different space, but it's still logical, but
I did have one
we're
issue.
getting a naturally supernatural sort of thing. And I really dug that. I thought that was very effective.
One big issue. These are 2 experienced cops that live in, like, one of the most extreme places in the country, and they took no rope. They had
And I said the same
nothing.
thing.
They
Dude,
didn't even have ice picks.
as soon as Jodie
Nothing.
Foster caved in, I was like, "Oh, you're both fucked now." But I had in the back of my head, and I'm sorry, guys, I don't like to be this guy, but sometimes I do like to be this guy. I spotted the hatch finally after watching the opening credits. I don't know how many times, but I was like, "We haven't seen a fucking hatch yet," and I was just like, "We're definitely finding the hatch down here. I don't know how, but we're
Dude,
definitely finding
you
the
called it.
hatch. We're
You said
going back to
we're going to
Salal."
call
Like,
Salal. Yeah, dude, I crushed. And I love the pan down to Salal's basically sign for all your idiot audience who couldn't figure out where they
"We're
walked into.
done."
Like, no
Yeah,
fucking way.
I love
Yeah.
that. I loved it. Yeah, that was great.
Barum, you weren't the only one, dude. We were just on the we were of course we were doing our, sitting on our couch, armchair quarterbacking shit. We're like, dude, no spray paint. Like, have you ever been to Sparkleberry Swamp? You don't know how to fucking turn around.
Goddamn,
Like, you're
like
never gonna know which way direction to go. Like,
well,
everything
like,
looks the
and how do
same.
they you're in an ice cave. How do you know where, like, your path coming back is?
Dude,
Like, it's all
she
the
is
mirrors. You can't see shit.
literally guided by voices. I'm just saying. She's guided by voices, dude. What do you want me to
Goes
say?
into a crevice. Someone guided by voices goes into a crevice, and the chief of police. Dude, some of Jodie Foster's
She's like, "What the
reactions to
what the
things.
fuck are you doing?"
There was a moment where she reacts to Navarro in the episode where she starts talking about something and she goes, "Oh, shut the fuck up." And dude, crying laughing. I was just like, this is the most perfect shut the fuck up.
Dude. Okay. So they spot Clark. They go in, they have I thought this was honestly like I was truly on the edge of my seat. I thought it was just like a brilliantly edited sequence. I'm like, dude, like I'm amped, I'm jacked. Like when Jody gets trapped in the like decompression chamber or whatever. Um, I was like, oh dude, what's going on? And like flipping out through all of that. And there's the moment where Navarro gets hit over the head and she's knocked out, and then finally, like, Jody bursts through the glass, she comes rushing out, and I'm like, "Oh shit," you hear it, like, roughed up or whatever, you're like, "Oh my god, what's happening?" You're like, "Hurry, hurry, get around the corner, I'm all, like, jacked up," and then the payoff is a fucking laugh because Navarro is beating the
Navarro's beating
fucking shit out of Clark, dude, and when they pick up the body, and he's got, like, literally, like, blood spilling from the back of his head. The immediate torture, like, one of the most brilliant tortures of,
Oh, yeah.
like, "Hey, let's throw in this video on a loop and, like, literally duct tape it to your head," and the pan up from Navarro choosing to do all of that
Do you see
to
do you
Danvers
see
just being like, "You want some coffee?" Like,
again,
so good.
the mirror of everything with that?
Please illuminate us.
So like the torture to people, quote unquote, the torture, because it's not really torture to one of them. They use it on a cop, but there's a uh piece of old media, a VHS tape that's a visual thing that you have to watch to see what happens to little Marie Fontenot, who lived home with her father, her real father. But then in this, it's all audio. Like, yes, there is a video component to it that's on the
I didn't
phone, but
even
it's
think
it's
of it
it's
as a
purely
fucking
all audio. Like, it's
yeah.
just that is the worst, because think about it. What if yes,
Nice, great
Navarro has been
fucking
seeing
call,
things,
brother. This is why I like podcasting with people,
and
dude. I didn't even fucking
but
think
we
of that
know
shit.
we know Navarro sees things. We know everybody sees things. But what does Navarro have over everything else? Hearing things. We hear these voices and the throat singing and all that. That all. I mean, to me, I like the great form of torture, and it's like what it's just completely opposite of what they do. Again, we already know we've talked about it multiple times. This is a love letter to season one. This is a mirrored flip of that. So yeah, you wouldn't have him watch that video on repeat. You just have him sit there and listen to it because we had nothing but just,
Well, and
you
again,
know,
that video and
eventually.
the sound of it was so effective at the end of
Yeah,
episode 3 or wherever at the hospital where we got
right.
that.
Hmm.
And just like, it went on for so long. And I remember thinking like, what could possibly be happening to her that would be creating
Hmm.
like these sounds? Why is it going on for so long? And
And
then
if and then
to
once because we
basically
do
sync up the audio to the actual like putting you in the room with it, I was just like, oh shit.
what
Okay.
adds a whole nother level because now like, yeah, that's why that Jew can't hear it. He doesn't have
Well,
to
and
listen to
oh
that to
my
hear it. He
god,
hears it
dude,
in his own mind's eye every
the
time he closes his eyes.
the echo once again of the unreliable narrator, but again, the camera's the true detective. We see what actually happened, but where Clark doesn't admit to what he did, he's just like, I loved her, I loved her. But when we see like that was the extra part where it's like, yeah, again, it's like we don't know anything about their actual relationship. I'm like, what the fuck was going on out in that shack? Like, that's still like, I don't know. Some of that stuff's a little beyond me. Some stuff you just kind of have to let it go, I guess. But
No, that stuff out in the shack is the guilt, dude. That's all guilt.
you're saying that's just him.
That's all him with the
But
guilt.
now that
Why?
I
What?
think of, yeah, because the shack did we? Yeah, I guess we never got the timeline on that. In our head, we were like, we didn't know how long that had been around. But
Well,
yes,
that unreliable narrator tells you more about anything than what anyone's saying. So yeah, you've seen that that is the thing that he will lie about. He's admitting to being there and everything else, but that's the one thing that he can't bring himself to say out loud. So he's obviously
Does anyone know how
making
he became equated with the symbol?
from
Through
So I know
her.
her?
it was I know it was on her, and then he got it on him, but it was on all these other things. But I don't know if we ever closed the loop on that. If
so
there was more to
so
that, or
she dreamed it up.
Mhm,
Um, when she was in high school or whatever, it was like, stuck in her brain until she got it tattooed and then the dreams went away.
mhm.
We talked about that in early speculation. I was like, oh, it's because she was drugged as a child because she was part of the Carcosa cult and like blah blah blah. And that's just
Never
where
happened.
my head
We were
went.
hoping so
But
much.
It's
that's
all
not
dream.
in fact what happened. But what it seems like, again, if we're going on the principle of most of the indigenous community is in tune with the spiritual world out there on the edge of nothingness essentially, and like they have these connections, and their ancestors, people who are gone, do speak to them, etc. Like, I think we're meant to just kind of buy into, like, you know
Gotcha.
that's kind
I
of your catch-all for
because
some of
also
this stuff where
Oliver Tagak, we never see him again. We never see Tagak again. And
yeah,
but he
but
left some symbols there. Like, well, how did he play into anything other than he worked there?
well,
It's like
again, and we got the from comic, we got the thing where it's like, well, they use these spirals as markers for like
Right.
how to
Which
get
is
down. So again, if I took it as like something was reaching out to her that maybe she wasn't ready to accept at like a young age. Again, something from the other side trying to tell her like this is your destiny essentially, is to find like, you this is your guide essentially. This spiral is your guide to get you to expose this thing,
well, it's
because
not as if
ultimately
that
that's
simple.
the sorry. Yeah, Gab, jump in.
No, that's where I was going. It's like you're talking the spirals. The guy they literally say that like you just said the markers are like, hey, if you come down here, you're like the ice is thin. You could fall and come in this cave. you're gonna wind up in a cave. So like that overall with her dream, like yeah, she maybe quote
It's
unquote
like she
knew.
was drawn to that place. Something was telling her this is where you need to go. Like,
No, I
Right.
and
love all
yeah,
that, following all that. Tagak leaves it. I thought it was like, I guess I had hoped that it was him leaving them a message to like, hey, listen, I'm leaving you a clue so you can find out what actually happened. But it just turns out it was a complete
yeah, again,
Well, the
I
warning,
thought there was
it's still
going
a
to be
rendition.
an
warning.
entrance under his
That's what I
cabin.
thought. That's what I thought. I thought the same exact thing. Yeah, yeah, same exact thing. But no,
Yeah.
of
No, but
course,
I mean, no, but Tagak leaves. He is the key though, because he leaves that. She takes that, goes to Cabot. Cabot comes back and says, "Dude, this rock thing you found,
right.
it's we leave them for this." So in a way, like if they don't go see him and he doesn't leave that for them, they're kind of stuck being like, well, "We don't know what the hell's going on.
Well,
We
Yeah,
know
like
there's a
There's
video."
nothing else that truly like leads them out to. I mean, they eventually, yeah, no, they had the ice cave thing, but
mhm.
they
well, it's
wouldn't know
also
the
he's leaving
detail of
them.
like looking for those. Yeah.
He's leaving them a warning. He's saying like you're on thin ice. Like fuck off with this. Like you are
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
creeping
don't
on
yeah.
Listen, I'll
dangerous
buy
shit.
Barum. I'll buy that. I'll buy that.
Okay.
That to me
That
makes
is the
that
yes,
makes it.
that's the
That's it.
actual like way more
That's it.
intelligent read.
That
Yeah.
makes so much more
He
sense. Yeah,
bugged out. He
that's
was
it.
like,
That's it.
I know what happened there." Because obviously, like within the indigenous community, they probably all like knew what those women
Even if you
did.
don't
And they were
know,
all just
you
keeping this
know.
exactly. They were all collectively keeping this secret. So naturally, when the cops
Okay.
come in to Tagak, and like that's why we see again those dudes on the encampment out on the edge of town, like they have their dogs, they've got their guns out because they're like, if we've got to, we'll fucking, we'll take out the cops and like make it seem like they just disappear because sometimes people just disappear out
Yeah.
here. So that's
And you
kind of
got to
always
think,
at play.
what
And
is
that's
what is
I
to
think go ahead,
what
yeah,
does
yeah.
he say to them when they tell him? They tell him Lund and Clark are still alive. Okay, they tell him that,
Yeah.
and it's not until after that that we get the scene in the hospital where Lund didn't make it out of the hospital. So again, that goes back
And
to
the
my
Yeah.
theory.
the
You
indigenous
know,
people work in the
It's
hospital. Gavin, you are
it's
the true
exactly.
detective.
It's
Gavin is the true
exactly.
detective.
It's completely unspoken, but obviously there's somebody on that nurse staff who just like fucking dosed him to
Gavin, that
make
was
sure like,
beautiful.
all right, this goes on the books as like, oh, so sad, like he didn't quite make it. But yeah, it's like, oh, we'll just help him along here.
Yeah,
Absolutely, dude.
The
It
straw
all
goes more
again,
ways.
it was all fucking there, dude. I'm the more we're talking about it, the more satisfied I am. And I was already pretty jazzed on this episode.
Yeah.
Uh okay, so we've moved out of the ice cave. We're into the Clark interrogation sort of scenario. Any like last kind of things from there before we move into I mean, the whole thing is the long night. I didn't expect to be in like still on New Year's Eve for so long, which
right.
again makes me rethink episode 5 where I'm like, so he just shot his dad like probably around like 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah, like it's this
Yeah,
Like
time is disorienting.
like, my brain is so broken with the not seeing any sunlight where I'm just like, that's something you do at night. You kill your dad in
Yeah.
the in the kitchen at night.
But think about how they
It
are.
doesn't happen in the afternoon. Like,
They're living in that shit. Like
I
that fucks
know,
with your
man.
brain.
Yeah,
People like get really fucked up by that stuff. Like it does not sit well with any kind of animal.
very true.
yeah. So
Very
think
true.
about if you're sitting in that, and then you come downstairs, and this chick who's been, banging your buddy Clark has just destroyed all of your research. What are you gonna do? Well, obviously you're freaking out. You're gonna grab the first thing that you can and start attacking her with
So
it.
Am I
so
the problem that I thought that like, listen, okay, got it. Those guys are really bad.
oh,
Okay,
say
I'm
it.
just gonna
Say
I'm
it.
just gonna say
See, fucking say it, bro.
I'm just gonna
This is
say
a safe space with 4
if
white ass men just sitting around a Zoom session. Say it. Fucking say it, bro.
this microorganism that they've harvested out of the ice could save humanity. I don't know what that means other than
We
it could make a
Bro,
whatever.
if you wanna have the millions versus thousands or hundreds conversation, if you wanna have the Watchmen conversation, I mean, we can fucking have it.
Do it in a
We can
German
fucking have
accent.
it.
Just do it in a German accent.
Hold on a second. All I'm saying is this, right?
Just
The
hear
bad
me out.
just hear me
Yes,
out. Just
folks.
hear me out. Just hear me out.
I'm just
All I'm
asking questions. That's all I'm
just yeah. The bad stuff has been done, right? The bad stuff has been done.
Job field, job field.
They've got the things that could potentially make good in the future. I don't know if the best course of action I think to me, best course of action is gather evidence. We move forward and prosecute these fuckers. The worst course of action is, hey, let's go destroy the good things that came out of all this horrible shit. It's like I want to say something here.
Project Paperclip.
Just hear me out. There was a lot of crazy medical stuff that came out of what the Nazis did, and guess what? Like, that's not okay. We don't do that. That's all evil. Yada yada yada. But then if you go ahead and destroy any good information that was pulled from that, it's like I don't know if those two things together somehow like justify what happened in the beginning. Does that make sense? I
No,
was
but
just
we
like,
did
I
that.
don't think that hurt. Not that it matters. It's besides the point. I'm just talking out of my ass here.
I
But we
understand.
did that. The US did that. It was paperclip. We nabbed up every Nazi scientist that was still alive and didn't do like the worst of it directly, and we used them. Like that's how we got to the moon when we did.
It's not even morally ambiguous. I mean, they were bad human beings, and
Absolutely.
we still leveraged that information. All I'm saying is that her down there destroying that, I just don't know if
I
it
understand.
logically followed.
Right,
Well, it
right.
definitely does.
But
It doesn't follow logic, but I understand the rage of it in the moment of literally like I've
but he
been
said that they
watching.
fixed it all. He said they fixed it all, and it took them 2 more
Oh,
years
2
to build
Yeah,
years,
this
but
2
thing
2
back.
years.
years, what is
So,
2
Thank
like,
you,
years?
God.
all the shit's back there, dude. Like, the
Yeah, yeah.
damage she caused is done with. Like,
It was like
they
a
were all
delay.
perfectly fine to be taking more core samples. It just so happened that, like, finally,
Oh yeah.
time was up and somebody had to do something,
Well,
you
yeah,
know?
because again, it's a 6-year gap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Between when she's murdered and when the the ladies do, take care of
Yeah.
So,
business.
so their logic in killing her also doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, just restrain her and call the cops. Like that would have made sense too.
Right.
I
Mhm.
think it was that they just also they were so isolated because they hardly
That's
had
what I
any
was getting
outside
at,
contact.
Barum.
They
Yeah.
were yeah,
Yeah, yeah. They
To
don't know
to
how to
essentially
Barum's point about people
they don't know how to
living
do
in
a
that
phone.
time and
It's like,
living in
yeah.
night all the time, like, yeah, of course, they're gonna get that way.
I also, again, we were told by high school scientist, fuck buddy of Danvers, that those were definitely whale bones in that video.
Ain't no
When
whale
well,
we
ever.
when we saw that spiral, I was like, you cannot tell me that that is not the skeleton of an ancient god of some sort. I've never seen anything that looks like that.
have you
Is
looked
that
at
just a
whale
giant
bones?
eel? Like
Have you looked at whale
Dude,
bones?
you're
I
telling
just
me that
tattooed some.
that spiral thing is a whale?
The whale I just tattooed whale bones like 3 weeks ago on somebody. It's a weird looking skeleton. It's hard to tell. I mean, it looks like it's bent around in a spiral, but have weird looking
All
skeletons.
right,
Can you
never
see can you see
mind.
that, Noah?
Never mind,
A
Gavin's.
Anubius, the god of death, is also a whale. Can you see that? Can you see it? Right there?
Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Yeah.
Looks like a
Do
little
your
mini
own
spiral
research,
right through
Noah.
here,
I
right?
just want to share this with you guys in the best part of this episode. So, like,
Gavin's just literally Reddit detectiving me in real time. Just like, oh, you want to see the evidence, you motherfucker? I got it right here.
Because Noah, what you don't understand is there are no other gods except our Lord and Savior Cthulhu, who lives in
Long
Rahel,
may he reign.
and long may he reign.
All hail the Lord of Cthulhu. Long may he reign.
dude, best part of the episode for me. So Sam, a lot of times when we're watching the episode, we'll put on English subtitles, even though Spanish is her second language, and we'll
Hmm.
watch these. And I sometimes I feel good about being able to like help her at a part of the episode where she's like, "Oh, explain this to me." And invariably, I'll be explaining some asinine thing that doesn't matter, and she will never miss something important, and I will miss something very important. So, which is the best part. And she's doing it in another language. So the fucking first thing, we're like eating our dinner. They get into the area where the bones are above them. Sam's mid bite. She goes, "Well, that's where she was killed." It just keeps going.
Yeah.
And I said,
This is the
"Wait,
room.
what was that, dude?" I said,
Yeah.
"Wait, what was that?" And she goes, "No, this is the room where she was killed." And I was like, just totally fucking over my head, of course. Which I don't
Mm.
know how. I just couldn't see it on that video camera. And she's like, on the video camera,
Oh,
and I know
dude,
this is
I
obviously
rewatched that scene like so many times. I studied
couldn't tell.
that little
Yeah.
iPhone screen. I was like, that's a fucking creature in there, dude. I'm telling you, it's in the ice. It's coming out. It's coming out. Man.
I'm just
Yeah,
hanging on to the tail end of this thing, just trying to keep up. It's something like that.
I love
she
that Sam's just like fucking like I get it, visual storytelling. Like I don't have to understand the language. Like they've been setting this up the whole season. I know exactly where the fuck they are right now. Like,
Well, if you
yeah.
speak multiple languages, I guess yeah, you got to pick up on the important stuff, and
Hell yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I do want to shout out uh the Pryor and Rose interaction, like that whole sequence where he goes out to bury the bodies, I thought was like top notch. Really like brought that character home. The interaction with Kayla, the wife, like wrapping that up, where it kind of felt like it felt late in the game that we introduced like so much drama between them, and it kind of felt like one a little one note or whatever. But even as much as like there wasn't a ton of depth there, I did think the, like, emotional payoff was not, like, you know, it didn't feel yada yada, it felt earned in the moment,
It still felt
so
like the
I
rest of
liked
it
bringing that home, yeah.
like there's a lot of it that like we don't know we still don't know like much details about so much of the backstory, which is super incestuous between all of these people. And I know Jodie Foster's fucked half of the town, but like it felt like a lot of that where there's more to it, and you can feel that there's more to it, but you don't need to know what it is specifically. It
Yeah,
felt very well played.
yeah. Um, yeah, uh yeah, any other thoughts on Pryor as a character and kinda how they wrapped him out? The kind of like, "Hey, you popped your cherry," the Goodfellas, and as much as like, "Hey, alright, well,
I was hoping the whole time
now
he
you've
was gonna
got, some terrible shit you gotta live with for the rest of your life. Welcome to the club." Yeah.
I was just hoping he was gonna stop Hank. I was hoping he was gonna like catch Hank doing some dirty shit and like stop him in the moment. I did not see it going as far as it did
Oh, yeah,
until
'cause
that point.
Barham just binged and caught up with 5 right before the finale, so he just
Oh
saw
hell,
Oh
dude,
the
yeah,
hell
aftermath
yes,
of
yeah,
that.
dude.
Yeah.
That's. Did you watch it all today?
I watched the rest of it in the last week, and then I did 5 and 6 tonight.
Oh, I was just I'm fucking jealous of you if you watched it all in one day. Okay, that yeah,
It was still even in a week. I gotta tell you, like it's a lot, and I'm glad I had some time in the middle to just process all the stuff. But
yeah. No, I'm just gonna take up a counterpoint on the relationship between he and his wife. I feel like they
Oh, yeah.
introduced the marital strain pretty early on, and they just dropped little Easter eggs. Like she does a good job of trusting the audience, I think, throughout the entire season. With like she doesn't fucking belabor you with some Afghanistan convoy story. She just
w
hints at it, trusts that you understand what she's getting at. Car wreck story with Danvers, same shit. She's like, I don't want to waste any time here. We got 6 episodes to fucking knock this out of the park. I'm not gonna spend any time where I don't need to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
100%.
think she hints at plenty of things where she just trusts you to like, all right, I'm on board. Let's fucking do this thing.
Again, yeah, I guess what I'm saying is, like, more
Mhm.
than anything, it's like it snuck up on me how much I was like, "Oh, I did actually care about whether these 2, like, made it
Yeah,
out of this okay." Because
yeah.
I think we talked on the last episode where it was like, "Oh, well, yeah, it would be really very True Detective of him to have, like, a terrible home life, and, like, maybe this is like, oh, he did wreck his marriage, and, like, this is just what happens because like, that's what happens sometimes." But I was like, "Oh, shit, yeah, dude." I'm like and I liked how organically it just felt like the just where the story was headed brought them back together in a natural way in that moment. It wasn't like, contrived in any way. So it felt like,
The the final camera
satisfying.
shot, the final camera shot of him, speaking of the camera being the true detective of like I don't have to basically like perpetuate the sins of my father kind of thing where he's
Mhm.
in bed with his son. And I was just like, cool. Thank
Yeah.
you for like
Yeah.
finishing on that note versus the Rose McGowan. What is not Rose McGowan? What's her name? Rose Agonal. Rose Agonal with
Yeah.
the where she
Dude,
oh by the way,
favorite
coolest
character.
line of the whole episode where she's like, you want to watch me stick a knife in your father's lungs so they don't inflate and then he would find his body later. I was like, God damn it,
Dude,
she's so hot.
No, the
best
coolest line
character.
of the
Best character.
episode was when the indigenous ringleader was like, "Oh, what happened to him out on the ice?" Again, I'm gonna fuck it up, but it's like, "I think they swallowed her fucking bones and spit them out," or
Oh
some
Sorry,
shit
no.
like that.
that was
I was
pretty
like,
badass.
"That was
It's
the
just a
That was
coldest
story.
pretty
shit."
badass. Yeah,
Like,
that's pretty
I
badass.
loved it, dude.
Where
I'm
I'm
fucking
sorry,
up the quote.
how many bunk beds do they have in that house? Those
Dude,
women
I'm
were
telling
clunky.
you, they
Neighborhood.
live in
They
the
saw the
neighborhood.
cops.
We talked about this earlier. They live in the neighborhood. They all start coming in the house because they saw the cops come in. Like,
They
Okay,
came in a
they're all
Salal
similar
just in
to
the
vehicle.
okay,
neighborhood. Yeah.
okay.
It was a
I'm
Salal
gonna buy that
vehicle.
line of thinking because I was like, that was an immediate response. There
When
are
they
30
pull
women in that house.
when they pull up, you see a bunch of other people like on their porch and kind of like
Oh, I
middling
missed that.
about.
Okay,
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
completely missed that. Okay,
Yeah,
okay, I
yeah.
completely missed.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's a Salal vehicle, so it's a vehicle specifically from where they all murdered 6 people.
No,
I
no.
didn't.
Like
Yeah,
I'm officially on
Barham.
board.
I didn't even notice that. Barham's just like, I mean,
No, I saw that. No, I saw that.
I
I noticed
totally
it.
fucking right over my
Well,
head. I
they
was
left
like,
their car with all their, like,
that's
equipment
right.
and
They're
rope
not in a
at the
police
fucking gate
vehicle. They're
entrance.
literally driving a
And
fucking Salal vehicle from the facility that's been abandoned for the last like week and a half since everyone was
no, 2 weeks
murdered there.
now. 15 days. 15 days of night.
Yeah, dude. Only 15 days,
excuse me.
dude.
Yes.
They're doing such a bad job of like covering your trail for the internal investigation that will follow. It's
Oh, yeah.
and they
Jodie
start a
Foster was
fire
like,
in
"Don't
the
worry about it.
warehouse.
I'm gonna monologue at the end of this episode, and I'll tie it all up. They
Right,
won't know the
all
difference."
Yeah, you know what? You know what I thought? I was like, dude, they're in a world of trouble. That's all I thought at the end of the episode. It's like this trouble has only begun for her.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why Navarro just has to like just walk
Did
off.
she kill
Where did
herself?
they
Does anyone
establish
even
that
know?
even?
Does
No,
anyone
no, no.
know?
They
No, I didn't
established
take it
that
that way.
so
She's
well.
alive?
So I didn't take it that way. I do think so. That shot of them like meeting up at an undisclosed location or whatever,
She said go
where they're
away
on the
and come back.
porch.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said, "If you do go away, come back sometime." So I
Yeah.
took it as like they're still in touch, and every once in a while, because we get that shot of like Danvers is out on the porch,
Yeah,
At the lake house.
and
it's from
yeah,
behind.
exactly. But I'm saying we don't really see them interact in that shot at all. And
Which
so
made me think she was dead.
to your point, if she is like a spirit, then yes, you could read it as like, oh, Navarro is gone, but Danvers still has this connection with her because now she's in tune with the other side. She actually does like realize that
Right.
there's something else out there. But no, I personally took it as like, no, she's alive and like she's just kind of like, hey, I that's the easiest way for me to like, not have to deal with any of what we just did is like I quit the police force, like I'm just out of here, blah
Well, they
blah
set
blah.
it up.
But and then she leaves the confession from
Well, they set
Clark.
up because they have
She
nomad.
does,
They
yeah.
already established there's nomadic villages that move around in the area, anyways, that live out on the ice and are completely off grid. Like, so there's plenty of
Right.
like. So I took it when she said like, if you go out there, come back. That she's going out there like on the ice, not to walk into the ocean, but
Right. Well, and she also, Danvers has the line about like, I don't think you'll find Evangeline out on the ice. Like that I just took as like, oh, she went somewhere else. Like she decided like I've made my peace with whatever I needed to tap into out here. Like the loss, like the unexplained nature of like, what I didn't know about my mother and my connection to my culture and everything. Now that I've satisfied that, like I did essentially like a good long-term deed for the community and as much as like I did, I did get this confession to be able to make that element of it public
well, she
without
shut down the
like
whole line.
implicating exactly without implicating any of these women and like essentially protecting them in the midst of it. It's like she's kind of like settled all of her spiritual, emotional debt, whatever you want to like call it, in that place. And it's like she's able to move on. So yeah, I just took it as like, oh, she probably lives like out in the Midwest now somewhere and like occasionally like they meet up somewhere.
And also, so with her settling up her stuff, had she given her that middle name that she gave, the indigenous name? She mentioned earlier that she never knew her Inuit name.
Right.
But was that have we heard her use that middle name at all at any point up
Not
until
not until the dream and she found it. Because
okay? So
that's my whole thing is like she tells you there that's like, hey, she's told you like the last 2 episodes, there's this thing that's like following me around and like it's gonna make me it's gonna be the end of me. It'll make me walk off into the ice. But like she meets something in that dream, finds out her name, and then all of a sudden she's like, well, there's a good side of this too. Like I could tell you about Holden. And she's like, you fuck right off. You don't talk about him. You want to go outside
Fantastic
and do
scene.
that? Do it. But you don't talk about him.
The two
well,
of
walk
them in
off
the
into the
long
ice.
night, the dark night of the soul, if you will, together of just like the two opposing viewpoints when like Jodie Foster finally has to like
How's the
fully
monster?
come over to the other side. And I thought all of that show was fantastic. So well
I
played.
Absolutely
just
wonderful.
I'm sorry. I did okay, sorry.
Don't be sorry.
This-
You're safe here.
I fucking loved I loved the season as a whole. I'm just gonna say that like there was a part of this episode where I was like, and cue near death experience for Jodie Foster. and
I mean,
and and she
I
falls
said it
she
last week.
dude,
I said it last week. She's gonna
falls
have
into
some sort of thing that's gonna
yeah.
put her in tune with her kid, and she's gonna accept there's stuff on the other side.
I would
It's
have
like
appreciated a
it's
different version of that, but yeah, I don't know.
it's
I wanted something
it's
unique. I wanted some
I'll
cliched.
take it for everything else that we
It's
get. I'll take it.
cliched in the same way, if we're being completely, like, honest here, in the same way that the ultimate payoff of Navarro's mother is cliched. I've talked about it on prior episodes. Every modern horror, like, supernatural ghost story is all scary, scary, scary. Here's my backstory. Actually, I'm a tragic figure. Solve my murder. Feel bad for me. I wasn't trying to be
yeah.
scary. I'm sorry I scared you for like 90 minutes, but now
It's
it's time to feel bad for me,
Sixth Sense, right?
and I'll leave. Well, Sixth Sense is like the fucking like apex mountain perfect
No, it's
version
like
of that.
yeah, no,
But
but
yeah.
that's what I mean. It's like that's the perfect
But
way
yes,
to
it's
do it.
like
But yeah, it's that.
but everything else has been like, yes, very derivative of like, oh, well, that's what people liked about that. It's like, no, there's so many other things that people liked about that movie. Like it's not the one little nugget that you pick out. But yes, that has become the cliche. So I was prepared for like, hey, she's been so terrified of her mom and her mom trying to like take her to the other place. But we had the setup again of Rose from the very second episode where she's like, you got to know what kind of spirit you're dealing with. Some of them want to take them, take you with them. Some of them are trying to tell you something you need to hear. I forget what the third one was, but like you need to know how to tell the difference. And
Continuity of that,
ultimately,
and then
I was
the
just like, yeah, that's where we're
okay,
headed is like your mom's been trying to reach out to you this whole time to give you the one thing she couldn't give you when she was alive. The one thing that would kind of like settle you spiritually and emotionally where dude, I love the moment uh where they're in Salah. It's right after they put the torture shit on Clark and they go into the kitchen and she
and
opens the fridge
orange,
and the orange drops
yeah,
out.
dude,
Oh,
Another
dude,
moment
yeah,
of I was
awesome.
just like, dude, she just like just
It's
there's
good.
some nice touches, man. Some
But
nice,
well,
nice
even with the
touches.
science,
So
even
good.
when they released the scientists out in the snow, they say the exact same thing that you just said right there, which was like, if she wants to take them, she'll take them. If not, they'll come back. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh. Well, in my head, like realistically, because I'm a skeptic, I was just like, dude, listen, they're gonna get fucking eat up by that storm and be dead within 10 minutes. But I was like,
yeah.
these cold ladies just laid waste to these dudes. I mean,
They
good
weren't
for them,
meant
I
to be
guess.
there,
Like, so,
Oh man.
I do want to talk about like are you all familiar with the Dyatlov Pass incident?
Yes,
Yeah.
we've discussed it
Okay.
a little bit on the
I
cast, but by all means.
I just like I don't know if y'all how much y'all have talked about it, but like I really still they kept me up into like the last 20 minutes really feeling like is that gonna be what it is? And I really appreciated that.
Hmm.
They rode the supernatural line really well and like I kept wondering, is it
I
because
think
I didn't want it to be that. I did not want it to
I
be,
think
oh, it's just a
it's
scientific
still to
phenomenon.
Gavin's point earlier, I think it's still very much left in that space because as much as like we said, Cameron's the true detective, we're seeing like, we're seeing what happened, what we assume actually happened. They left them out on the ice. And so to me, that was still a great way to leave it quote unquote ambiguous. Like you're
I
saying,
like
Evan,
it.
because you're like
They
logically,
hint at
Evan,
those
yes,
things.
they're gonna freeze within like minutes. But also the mother spirit of the ice is
Well,
definitely gonna come up in the form of a Wendigo and like fucking enchant these
well, and they've
dudes
been
and
saying
fucking
that.
like make their ears bleed and their fucking eyes pop out and make them bite themselves. Like that's definitely also on the table. And we don't have to settle it one way or the other
No, and
because
I
at the
love it.
end
And
of the
they
day, it's all just a story. We don't know. We don't know what happens after they disappear into the night
and they've been
country.
saying weird shit happens in Ennis all the fucking time. Like people like experience weird shit. So like it's already like so much of it is layered in that like this is a place that fucks with people and the line is hard to draw between like what's real, what's not, what's anywhere in between. But I absolutely beautiful job of that. I really but I was so much more satisfied with what it was
Yeah.
than what I kept thinking it could be up until the very end of it. Like
can
Brother,
I
you doing okay over there?
Yeah, yeah, I'm good.
Okay. You hadn't said anything in a little while. Just wanted to check in with
I don't know if you saw me.
Detect
I
Detective
glitched out
Blanchard.
for a minute, and then, like, I came back in, and you guys were talking about I had to jump back in to figure out what you guys were
Yeah, I
talking
was
about.
trying to give you a second to
Yeah,
readjust.
I'm good.
But yeah, we're just I'm trying to think. I mean, by all means, guys, chime in if there's any big
I just
sticking points or highlights, lowlights, whatever you want to hit.
Oh, I just hate to continue being the one who's just had problems with the last episode. I've had like one love 1 through 5, like, period, dot. I just feel like maybe I came in with wrong expectations. I just thought I was gonna get hit with an emotional sledgehammer on this one. I was like so hoping for that to be the case, and I
I
just felt
I
let down.
I personally, uh, it was it was very effective, on multiple levels and multiple scenes for me personally. I thought it definitely brought all that home. Uh,
Also,
can't
like
speak to anybody else's experience, but yeah.
I feel like satisfied, but also I just rewatched season 1 in preparation like last week for watching this season. And I gotta say, like watching the very end of season 1, like there's a little bit of that too. Not that it was a letdown in terms of what it was, but like the hospital scene after like the climax, but where there's
Mhm.
like a almost like there's a depressed feeling. And it's over, it's wrapped up. We now know there's no more to go. And I did feel like I feel like that maybe kind of feels like I don't know, like it's just sad to see it over and like we know, and so there's no more suspense. But I didn't
Yeah,
feel disappointed in how it ended. But I did feel like that with season 1 rewatching the end, just that it kind of was like, oh, okay, like this is it, and I guess that's all. It felt like a lower point, but I think it was just because it's coming down from this insane climax.
I guess there's
But
probably some.
you're saying you felt depressed? You feel depressed about, like, the end of season 1, Bear? Like, just a little bit?
Not in what it was, but not
No,
in terms
no.
of, like, being disappointed
But,
in
like
the quality.
no, like, the mood is still kind of depressing, like, they've been through this traumatic thing, and then, like, he has this split second where, like, he sees his daughter and his dad, who we've seen
Yes.
now, in this series, we've seen his father and whatnot. Um, and you're right, kinda leaving there is that small glimmer of hope of, like, I think the light's winning, but overall, it's like the Tuttle organization is still a thing. Mm, Russ had this experience, and it kinda validated his thing of, like, life ultimately is worth living because I know what's on the other side of it, and that's my true form where I'm gonna be, but, like, I can't take myself there now. So,
Right.
there is still, like, a depressive note walking out and just kinda, like, fading up to the sky. This is the most hopeful I've felt in a season because, like, season 3, I was just kinda like, "Oh, that's sweet. These 2 old men, they're gonna live together and be buddies, and, like, maybe they'll
Yeah.
fight some
Yeah.
crime and whatnot,"
Oh
but,
Dark
like
no, man!
sitcom.
What?
Yeah,
you
No
dark
know?
sitcom
way!
in the making, but
God,
Yeah.
Gavin, hard disagree, man. Season 3 to me, dude, I'm fucking got the warm fuzzies inside when Steven Dwarf's sitting there with his
Yeah,
family,
no, it's good. You feel
Awesome.
warm and fuzzy, like, it's great, knowing what he's been through. It's not a bad ending. It's hopeful, it's happy. You're like, "I'm good. I'm glad that he was okay." You're fine. I don't like the quick
Yeah.
misdirect of, like, "Oh, she's gone, but no, she's really alive. She had a great life. It's all good." I
Yeah.
love all that, but this one just overall felt like a more we and maybe it's because 'cause we've been in darkness for 15 days and we're ending in light, and, like, it's all good. The light
Well,
is winning,
it
and,
is a
like,
higher
we're
I
note than
just
the
moving
first
forward that
season,
way.
for sure.
I just wanna ask a side note question because it's something we've pondered before, in regards to season 3. That final shot though, Evan, of season 3, how do you read it? Because we
Oh,
both
dude,
think that
yeah.
it's kind of ambiguous, but, like, disappearing back into the jungle and he's back in Nam, how do you take that?
I I don't know, man. So there's a couple different things, right? Like, there's a whole bunch of obviously. I think I heard you say you kind of talked about like he's disappearing back into his own mind,
The jungle
which
of his own mind,
yeah,
which,
which
yeah,
I
has
like
been the
that
whole
read.
season, yeah.
I like that read on it too, but I also like the read that he was always happiest on the hunt, right? Like he loved being a detective, and that's kind of like the whole true detective thing, right? And then, even in his off time, they talk about that in season or in episode 1 or 2 of season 3, where they talk about how, like, even on his off time when he's not hunting human beings, he goes and hunts boars on his own and disappears for a couple days into the woods. Like, there's clearly something about his personality that is fulfilled by that, just the pursuit. You know what I mean? And so to me,
Mhm.
it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. There's a million ways to read. I preferred your read on it the best, but and I think there's a moment too where I hope that he knows that he solved the thing and then he forgets that he solved it like 2 seconds later, that just
Yeah,
makes it
that's how I always kinda he
melancholy,
has, like,
pure
a moment
melancholy.
of clarity, but it's, it just flips away. Uh, and then, again, unsung is the emotional finale of season 2, man. Fucking Vince Vaughn walking off into the desert? Velcoro getting shotgunned in the fucking forest? Like,
which we called
if
in
you
the second episode. Yeah.
if those don't make you feel things, you're not human. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Just yeah,
They
I
make
guess
me
I
feel
guess
things,
I
but they
was
don't
hoping
stick with
for
me.
it just didn't feel maybe if that I don't know.
I got a lot of again, maybe
Two more episodes.
I don't know what it was. I mean, 2 more episodes
You
would have been cool, but I thought it was incredibly satisfying without feeling overstuffed in the hour and 15 minutes that we got.
Yeah.
But I got a lot of like genuine like just satisfaction out of the payoff of I was like, "Oh, she's been like the other side of this, the background story the whole season has been these indigenous men and women, but who are being like basically have like a boot on their neck because there's a fucking successful mining company nearby and they're basically like literally poisoning this population in like small doses essentially." And it's like yes, it wasn't, like, ever present, but again, it was such a tension point of the Danvers, like, Leah relationship with, with her daughter that I feel
I
like
think it was ever present.
it's thre again, yeah, no, it is, I'm like, in 6 episodes, I'm like, when did we were we ever not actively talking about it? So, the payoff being, it's like,
can
"Hey,
never deal with Lady
the
McKittrick or deal with McKittrick either. We'll leave her hanging. I mean, 2 episodes more, we can maybe get a little I
well,
don't
the
know,
imp oh,
you
well, no,
can't
we
really resolve it, but
yeah, we don't know how,
she's pure
well,
fucking like
I guess
or so
because Clark yeah, because Clark, like, keys us in that, they were also the ones advocating for it. Um, we just assume we get that shot, right, of, walking the perimeter or whatever, and it shows that, like, the mine's been shut down after, you know, the tape's been made public, the confession and all of that. So, yeah, I guess that's the wrap up is, like, McKittrick's fucking kicked out of town maybe,
sorry, I was
and
dealing with a baby. I missed the mind closure thing.
oh,
I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
completely missed that. Yeah,
So
that make okay.
Danvers gets left. What you find? Did you see the whole confession video that
I
Navarro
did see
got?
that part. I did see
So
that
yeah,
part.
Navarro gets the confession from Clark, and she leaves the cell phone video. Danvers finds it when she goes to like check Navarro's house when she has gone just and like
Yep.
walked off, and so they have the moment where she's being interrogated, and they're like, "Ah, yeah, do you know how all that information leaked?" And she's like, "Huh, who knows?" And it's like, "Oh, okay, well, Danvers leaked it," and then they cut to a shot of the, Salal being shut down, and I think
I missed the
also
visual,
or
okay.
no, it's not Salal though, it's the Silver Sky Mining.
Yeah. You see
Like,
the
yeah,
Okay,
close
it's
signs
the
just
mining
got it.
behind the
company, and
fence.
so they establish very quickly that, like, yeah, that information did come out, that all of the conspiracy stuff there and again, in a way that doesn't implicate the women who did it, so, like, basically,
Yeah.
Navarro, at the end of the day, did, like, the coolest maneuver possible and then just pieced the fuck out, like, she was just like, "Dude, I tied up everything in a bow, and I, like, made everything better for the community, and I feel good about it, and now I'm gonna go live my life,"
Well, it
basically.
clarifies why she'd have to disappear too, because if her voice is on that video, she was very clearly shown, like, you can kinda tell the dude's beat to shit, like, it's pretty obvious this is a video of someone who's been tortured into a confession, and it's true, but, like, she can't really stick around after that, her voice is
Sure.
on,
Yeah.
you know? So
Yeah,
it
it's inadmissible. It's for the poisonous tree, clearly.
like, so even if
Yeah.
she was, like, healthy and doing well, she's still gotta disappear, there's no sticking around after that, like,
Yeah.
I think she engineered it that way.
Yeah,
Uh,
So
doesn't matter
so
in the
yeah, I guess.
so do we like that this ending of 4 is essentially the wrap up and ending of all 3 seasons all in one? Because you have Danvers on camera, which is a prominent thing in season 1.
The interview
Uh,
segment, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
right. Also, we are in light finally after being in the darkness. So the light is winning. That could take care of one. The second season, all of the truth is coming out because Bezarides is talking to a reporter, and they're like, "Wait an hour. We're going to leave. Get all this info out." And you're led to believe that finally, after all this corruption, the true story of what happened with Vinci and all that's going to come true. So we have that in Navarro leaking that. And then again, going back to 3, you got 2 friends standing on a porch at the end of the season. What more can you ask for? So I love that she wraps up all of the other seasons. She takes a nod from each one of those
Dude.
and puts it in her final ending. I think
Yeah,
that's beautiful
very
for
nice.
her.
Very nice, dude.
But at the same time, in 10
Very nice.
years, if the 5th season comes out in 10 years, time is a flat circle.
Dude,
It's all
I
gonna happen again.
100%.
dude.
I think they have firmly. I think if anything, this has invigorated and set the table because in as much as this stuff really does matter in the modern like streaming landscape and everything, the this season is the most successful season of True Detective, outpacing season one, like on a week to week basis in terms of viewership. And like it's killing it right now. So I think HBO is probably very, very happy, even for because that's the thing, dude, is even the naysayers who fucking hate it, the season one bros who are just like, what the fuck? What is this? The hardcore Reddit people who are still on the like, it's all about Carcosa. It's all about Carcosa. What is all of this like fucking other shit, dude? Like, get back to the Yellow King. Tell me about that. Those guys, they're still pissed. They're still pissed. But guess what? They're still watching every single episode. Every single episode. They're even if they're hate watching it. But yeah, so it has like crushed it. It's gone up like week over week, essentially. So I think we're definitely getting a season 5 from another creator, and I think they should do the exact same thing where it should be like, hey, you get to direct all the episodes. This is your baby, and it should be somebody who is like, I think,
You
especially
get 8
if they do
episodes
the
per
move of like
week.
somebody who has a great like idea in the realm and is also simultaneously a fan of the show, and it's like, hey, take your because that's what she did with this. She adapted like something she already had just called Night Country and was like mapped the True Detectiveness onto it, and it just like
Make the creative in
did it fucking
control the
perfectly.
True Detective. Make them
I want
the
to see.
real character.
I want to see David Fincher do True Detective. That's what I fucking want more than
I want to
anything.
see David Fincher do more Mindhunter is what I want to see.
Yeah,
I
well,
want
that
that to come
that
back.
that
That would
first
be
and
cool.
foremost.
That's never
Yes.
gonna happen, but that would
Secondly,
be
yeah.
cool.
Secondly,
Yeah.
he could do a
Uh,
mini one.
for sure. Yeah, any other final thoughts on the episode proper, gentlemen?
No, I mean, we
All
pretty
right.
much
I
said
think we're
everything I've
all
been thinking.
I just still like I gotta go back to like not a single rope. Not a single piece of survival equipment to go into a
No
goddamn
spray
pit.
paint. No.
real sticking point.
Yeah,
Charlie
no,
Bronson's
not a
always
break
got
rope.
rope.
Only thing, like I loved
You
everything
think
else.
you think
So,
Otis
like,
would have remembered the rope, bro?
He would have not forgot his
Or
heroin. I'll tell you that
I was
much.
gonna say, or do you think he would have been so bombed out from his fucking skag that he was just like, I don't
but
know.
they
I don't
could
know.
use
This is
his
where I am
vomit
right
or
now.
whatever to like as he's puking along the goddamn way.
I
Like
just loved the
stuff.
I just loved the idea that it was like, you gotta get me right so I can get you out there. It's like, you gotta get me fucking just like
Nothing.
blissed the
I
fuck out.
gotta be
But I'll be able to
nothing.
tell you
Gotta be
exactly where
nothing.
to go. I promise. I promise I'll know exactly where to go.
Just freebase some heroin real quick. I can
Also,
find the
I've
one.
never seen anyone freebase heroin on a television screen before.
Dude, yeah,
I
that was
mean, I've
amazing.
seen
We didn't even talk about that.
I think it's very inclusive. It's nice that they're including other users of heroin in ways that they haven't been included. in
Barum.
other
Barum,
media.
we've watched The Wire together. We've
What
They
seen
about the
some
don't
night
freebase
people.
of?
heroin. They freebase cocaine.
There's
I've
The
seen
night of?
definitely
cocaine freebased.
characters
I've
who
seen crack freebased.
the
I've
night
never
of, yeah.
seen heroin freebased on the
Definitely think
screen.
pretty sure pretty sure there's some heroin
I feel like it was
in The
crack
Wire
with
at some point
cocaine.
there, bud.
Heroin was all in the fucking arm or up the nose. And that was the line because they drew that line of you either you do up
Bubs
the
is
nose
a
and you switch over.
Bubs is a heroin addict, not a crackhead.
Yes, but Bubbles explains the whole like when you go from the
Okay,
nose
sorry,
to the arm.
this is not a Wire dissertation. Sorry, it's HBO
But
adjacent. Whatever, we'll keep it in there. Okay, so yeah, all
thought
right,
it was inclusive. It was nice to see.
okay. Here's what I'm gonna do, and then it is the finale, but we are welcome to have a little after show if you guys would like to. But I would just like to thank Special Agent Williams and Special Agent Twohig for joining us from the Twin
Of
Peaks
course.
office, on loan from the Twin Peaks office. I made it adjacent, you see, because one of you was in Oregon for a while, and the other one was in Seattle, or excuse me, Washington State. So
Fire walk with me. Yeah.
hell yeah. So we'll just have
The end of.
we'll talk about that in a second. But anyways, thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining us.
Glad to meet
Of
you.
course.
that you like moving back in style.
Yeah,
Sorry,
let's
I
talk in
that little
reverse.
man, that little man, he
Ho- ho-
scares the shit out of me
Yes, yes.
every
Okay,
time.
we'll talk more about that in just a second. I'm trying to do the wrap up, if you will allow me, brother. I'm trying to just let me get it out while I am
My
still
apologies,
in
boys.
this
Please,
register.
please
Get it
tell your
done.
sergeant. Please tell your sergeant, Agent Dale Cooper. We appreciate you being
I
left with us on loan.
yes,
Thank you.
we greatly
We appreciate you. boys.
I would like to thank my brother and fellow detective, Detective Blanchard, also known as Gav. I've been
It's been a
Noah.
pleasure with you working on this case.
Thank you, brother. I have been Noah. This has been TRUEsDays, and now we can officially say, case closed. All right, now we're
Welcome
back
to.
in the after show. After the music has faded out for all the people who've stuck around, these have gotten longer and longer every episode. I know it's late for some of us, and not late for others of us, but we can wrap it up as soon as you guys want to. I do just have some questions I want to kick around. Evan, you just made a Fire Walk with Me reference. Have you watched all of Twin Peaks?
I haven't finished season 2. No,
I know
Oh,
that
you
may
haven't
be
seen-
I know that may be a struggle, but like, do you know who killed Laura Palmer?
no.
Oh,
Wait.
Okay.
Well,
Yes.
I can remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, you do know who killed Laura Palmer?
No, listen. I feel like I'm being interrogated. No, I'm just. I would like to speak with my attorney first and foremost.
Okay. Well, I would just say, like,
I watched
you
it again.
definitely need to get back into season
Long
2.
Years,
You
dude.
probably should start from the get-go, and then you have to watch The Return. Season 3 is like
It's
Dude.
awesome.
it's
Okay.
it's
I remember
it's
season
my
1.
single favorite
Incredible.
piece of art that exists, Evan.
Yeah.
Film, TV, music, whatever. It's my single favorite piece of art that exists on this earth is Twin Peaks.
Season
The
2 just
Return.
goes so off the rails. I just got sidetracked eventually by other things in my life, and I just didn't finish season 2. But I will come back. I will definitely go back.
And again, parts of season 2 will feel like a chore because that's when he disappears to go make fucking Wild at
Racer Red
Heart.
or something.
No,
Oh,
he go,
okay.
no, Racerhead's like 77. But no, he disappears to go make Wild at Heart with Nicolas Cage and Laura Dern. If you've never seen that, that's his like Natural Born Killers, his Lovers on the Run movie, but like
Okay.
his version of it. It's fucking twisted, and it's like, basically his version of the Wizard of Oz, but mixed with Natural Born Killers. Uh, it's pretty incredible. Huge
I'm
recommend.
definitely. I watched Northwater because you guys talked it up, so I crushed it in a day. Fucking
Did I
incredible.
overhype the Colin Farrell performance at all?
No, it's so good. It was so fucking
Dude,
good.
fuck yeah.
It wasn't Colin
Fuck
Farrell, dude. It
yes.
wasn't Colin Farrell. It was just fucking. It was just that guy, the most
It was
evil
what, Leo
human being.
Drax? What the fuck was his name?
Henry Drax.
Yeah,
Henry Drax.
Henry
Excuse
Drax.
me, yeah.
He was terrifying, and when he would close talk to the doctor, I felt anxiety on behalf of the doctor. I felt anxiety. I was like, dude, this guy, he's never been better. He's never been better. I mean, he's good and amazing and everything. But I
Just
just like,
bear to boil it down for you, you're like Colin Farrell in the show. You're basically like, he is like a bear of a man, and at any given time, you're like, I don't know if he wants to like, but have a drink with me and just be surly, or does he want to like, fuck me to death or beat me within an inch of my life? Like, I don't know. Like, that's the
Beat
energy
you within an
he's
inch of your
giving
life
off.
and then fuck you
Like,
to death.
yes,
This
that's the
sounds like an
energy he gives
interesting
off
person to
the
meet at a
entire
bar.
series.
This sounds like someone I'd have like a 3-hour conversation with at a random dive bar.
the true like there's the scene in Northwater where they do the physical examination to determine if he's the one who's been sodomizing the cabin boy and then kills him. Whatever.
What a
Do you remember that?
statement. What a fucking statement.
Dude,
That is quite a
and
statement.
so,
Huge
and
plot
so,
point. Huge plot point in the Northwater.
so spoiler alert. But when he does the examination and then they find no venereal disease,
Hmm.
it's like, wait, what? That was what threw me for a loop. But then they find the kid's tooth in his arm, and I'm like, so why did he tell me? That's dude, that for me was like it was supposed to not make sense. It was supposed to not make sense, and
100%, because he
I was
doesn't
like,
operate on anybody else's logic, he operates on his own logic. Like,
yeah.
he serves his own means all the time. All
And
the
you
time.
and the
Nobody
thing is
else
that, like,
matters, like, literally no one else
there's
matters.
zero covering for it. He just will tell you to your face at any given time that, like, "You can't trust me. You can't trust me, but this is what I would like to do." And, like, dude, it's just it was so satisfying to watch, and I don't know why. It was just and watching Cavendish die, I went, "Oh
Dude,
god."
it is
It
just
was
it's one of those where I think it is based on a book, maybe it's not, I'm not even sure, but it just, like, it felt like reading, like, just a great fucking novel with, like, really rich
incredible.
characters, and you're just like, "Dude, this is, like, fucking
And
profound and
the writing
disturbing and
was
entertaining," like, yeah.
so fucking strong. I know it was a novel or whatever, but the scene where, like, I love the character Otto the whole time, where he's the kind of the mystical one, where he believes in God, and he talks about dreams and stuff, and he says, "All of us are gonna die. You'll be swallowed by a bear, but you'll live." And he's like, "I'm gonna be eaten by a bear and live," you know? And then the whole thing follows through, and he
Mhm.
kills a bear and lives by crawling inside. I was like, "The show is incredible." Like, the show is perfect.
It's a Ian McGuire book, I wanted to look it up. Yeah, I haven't read it, but I'm like, I can't
What's the book
imagine
called?
I think the book's called The North Water as well.
Okay.
It's the best show I've seen
Yeah,
in a
same
very
title.
long time. A very
Yeah,
long time.
no, that was, very high on our what was that, 2021? Yeah. That was on, I think, both of our year-end lists, but,
Yeah, it was.
I've been
yeah,
thinking of
dude. Did you catch any of, Mr. and Mrs. Smith yet?
burned through it with Sam
Yeah,
in
what'd you
for
think?
like 2 or 3 days, dude. So fucking good. And I
Hell
told
yeah.
Sam, I was like, dude, I was like, I don't know about this one. I just know this is good, and Gavin says it's really, let's just check it out. Check it out. And I was like, because I love the movie. I fucking love the movie. And I was like, it just seemed like a money grab ripoff, which is why I never paid any attention to it. And we watched it, and I was like, oh,
But you're also like, but Donald Glover wouldn't just, like,
no, I love Donald
just do
Glover.
but I'm saying you're like, but he
Maya
wouldn't
Erskine, I
just,
like her
like,
too.
do
Like
this
it,
for the fuck of it. Like, dude, did you ever watch Pen 15?
I watched
yeah,
both seasons of that, Noah.
Dude,
so fucking
Gavin,
funny.
you finally did you binge that recently?
Yeah, me and
'Cause
Bex did.
I've been telling you to watch it for fucking ever. Okay, so
Dude, that
yeah,
show's
thumbs
so
up.
fucking good, dude. That fucking Pin 15, dude. That's some of the most cringe laugh stuff I've ever laughed at.
I mean, I
But
think it's
and the
genuinely one of the funniest shows of the last 10 years, like,
Brilliant. It's
easy.
yeah,
brilliant. The
So
premise is
fucking
brilliant.
funny.
What is
Barum,
it
have you
on?
seen it? It's on
No, what is it
Hulu.
on?
Are you
Hulu?
crocheting right now?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. No, I was just like, I was like,
no,
I think
no,
I keep
no.
seeing him doing
the,
just
the
like,
fact that the fact that Zoom just like pans and it's just Bearman. He looks up and says, "Yeah, I love it. It's so. I wish people could see this conversation. I love it."
making a hood and a cowl.
dude, fuck
Oh my
yeah. I
god.
was like, I think those are needles. Like, I don't know what the fuck he's doing over there. What the fuck were we talking about?
Pin
And
15. That's what I was talking
Pen
about.
Hulu.
15.
It's on
Barum.
Hulu.
Barum. Yes, it's on Hulu. Maya Erskine and Anna Konkle, they are adult women, but they play themselves in middle school in the
I
early
remember seeing
2000s,
trailers.
but
I remember
all
the
the kids
trailers.
around them are age appropriate, but they are playing younger versions of themselves. It is fucking hysterical, and it is, like, right in the pocket of our middle school, like, on the edge of high school experience, like, a lot of the, like, cultural touchstones, dude.
Oh, it
It is
sounds great.
basically Freaks and Geeks for our era. Like, it's
Perfect.
fucking so good, man.
Well, I think I've got
So
access to
fucking good.
Hulu. I think my parents have Hulu, so I can just get on theirs. That's like the one that I have not had for the last 2 years. Is I just haven't
Huge
had Hulu. So
recommend.
I'm
And the Mr.
clear
and Mrs.
about it.
Smith show. So Evan, you got what I was saying about how, like, the opening is basically like a parody of the
because
movie.
yeah, it's like, dude, it's Skarsgård, and I forget what her name is, but Sam immediately goes, "She's so famous in Mexico." That's what she said, first opening scene or whatever. And they
Was
get
she
it.
just in Ambulance? Is that right?
Yeah, that
She
was yeah,
might.
she was in the ambulance.
I never
I know
saw
who you're
him.
talking about.
Yeah, apparently
I'm
she's
looking her up.
huge
I got
in Latin America. I don't know if she's huge, but
Eliza Gonzalez. I'm almost positive that's her.
yeah, that sounds right.
Yes, Eliza Gonzalez and Skarsgård. But yeah,
But
a nice echo of like kind of a vaguish Brad Pitt type, like sort of, and a vaguish like exotic like leading lady in the vein of
yeah,
Angelina Jolie. It's like okay,
in
okay.
it, but I love when like so they get into the show. I watched the opening scene, loved it. You fucking smokes. You're just like doesn't matter.
Let's get
And
some
then yeah, I
slap
was
in
like,
the
oh
cheek.
no, yeah. And
Yeah,
you really because you wanted to watch Skarsgård do stuff, and it's sad to see him
yeah.
die. But when they get into the couple of them, what I love I love all the cameos. The cameos are incredible, top notch shit.
Yeah.
But what I love is it's all the details of any mission they're on are so secondary and unimportant to every fucking else. Dude, we were crying laughing. I was like the episode with Ron Perlman, and they're
Dude,
talking
they're
about
having like an extended like 45-minute like chase sequence through Italy, right? Through Lake
but
Como.
yeah,
But
but
it's
through
so
Como,
casual. It's so
but it
just
doesn't
like we're
it's
just
so
hanging
casual.
out.
The best part was this. I looked over at Sam and I was like, and they wait until you're 45 minutes into an hour long episode and they start talking about having a baby. But listen, Perlman can't sleep. His stomach hurts, won't take his medicine. He
He's
throws up.
been a big
So
baby
he's
the
a
whole
baby. He's a
episode.
baby. He's a
Exactly.
baby. He's
Yeah.
been a baby the whole episode. Dude, I'm crying, dude. I'm crying. Like it is whoever the writers are of the show should fucking win awards.
Are you
It's
an
amazing.
Atlanta person? Have you watched all 4 seasons of Atlanta?
So it's funny you asked that because while I was watching the show, I was like, awesome. One, I know Donald Glover makes music that billions of people listen to at this point, but I was like,
Literally, I think one of like the 5 most successful music videos in the history of like period. Like
yeah, I
that
was showing Sam. I was like,
Jesus
Sam, he's
Christ.
one of the like probably one of the most famous musicians, right? I'd say, I was like, look, and he had a billion listens on Spotify. I was like, it's crazy. It's for some of his songs, but anyway, no, I was looking up to see like what else he'd been doing because I feel like I hadn't seen him in a while, and yeah, and I saw Atlanta. I was like, I've never watched Atlanta, but I've heard good things,
The
Oh
and
my
best
god, dude.
basically
Dude. Oh,
since
we
I'm
have to
trying to
do an
think of the
episode by episode with
I'm
Evan.
trying to
We
think of the
have to do this.
previous I'm trying to think of the previous marker. I think chronologically, if we include Twin Peaks: The Return with just Twin Peaks in the original run of that, I think chronologically, Atlanta is the best show since The Leftovers. Like just the
oh
best
god,
show
I bet.
period
Where can you
since The
watch
Left.
it?
It's on Hulu. It's part of FX on Hulu.
Oh my
Yeah,
god,
yeah.
as
4
good as the
seasons.
leftovers?
Yes, not that I'm comparing them in
No, no,
like
I know
in tone or
different.
anything in any sort of way, just in terms of like the like totemic shows of the last several years. If you haven't seen Atlanta, you're doing yourself a big disservice. It is
And a lot of
there's
people haven't.
literally there is literally nothing else like it, and it is just like it's fucking genreless, indescribable, brilliant, unique, fascinating, always 100% did its own thing. If you liked the sense of humor of Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
Love it.
It's all in that show, dude.
it is and it is
Literally. Oh
in
my
that
god.
show and so much deeper and stranger and it is but no, dude, it is just
Who's the
as
lead? Who's the lead actor from Book of Clarence? Who's that guy's name? What's that guy's
Lakeith
name?
Stanfield.
He's
So
in it
I
in
heard he's in
Atlanta.
And
Atlanta.
Dude, oh my god.
I
dude,
saw a
okay,
clip.
so
I
he's
saw a clip on Instagram the other day. This is what told me to watch Atlanta, and until you guys did this, but I was like,
yeah.
there was a clip of him like walking in the middle of a riot, trying to return like an article that he bought from the store,
Mhm.
and dude, I'm crying, I'm crying laughing, and I'm
No,
like,
but I had the receipt. I just want to
I
return
The
it.
know, I'm
receipt,
just, dude,
sir.
I'm like, what show is this? What fucking show is this?
Dude,
I was like, someone said it's Atlanta. I was like, Atlanta? What the fuck is this? Like, dude, I'm crying
dude,
laughing.
that was like basically our introduction to Lakeith Stanfield. Of course, I mean, we've been following all of us. I feel like have been following Donald Glover like since he started, like Derek Comedy, like
College humor,
those
dude.
internet videos, like literally,
Yeah.
we go that far back. It's like,
Nobody
dude,
else has seen
and
Mystery
it's
Team
like,
but us.
so they're fucking incredible. And then I don't know how familiar you are with Brian Tyree Henry from like movies over the last couple years, but he's the other secret weapon who is like one of the best actors of his generation. It's like they literally have three of the best actors of their generation all on one show. Well, excuse me, and then Zazie Beetz is also the
Oh
female
God, yeah.
lead. So it's like those are your four principal characters, and everybody's just lights out, and the show is like hysterically funny, like hits you in the feels, dude, makes you think, like does wild shit you would never see coming, and is just like
Dude,
it's
let me
one of those where like you'll watch an episode and be like, oh dude, I think I had like, dude, that was wild, that was cool, that was really fun. And then like if you went and like read just like a little bit on like what influenced that episode or what like was referenced in that episode, you'd be like, oh fuck, like I didn't oh shit.
God
It just
damn.
like literally like not to be like hyperbolic about television and art or whatever, but like when it is, it is. It's like that shows like life-changing shit. Some of the shit that's in there that you just like did not know about, like fucking incredible. Go
this is
watch it.
also the show that like
I'm
it
in.
took time out of its last season ever, where like people are just like craving all these characters to do a fake documentary about the blackest Disney movie ever, a Goofy movie.
I
Dude,
love a good
they
Dude,
are 2 episodes away from the final episode of one of the most, like, critically acclaimed, like, heralded shows of the last, like,
such a
decade,
good movie,
and
and
Goofy.
they take a
they're like,
break.
literally, "We're gonna do a full-on mockumentary episode." It's, like, almost 50 minutes long, and it's all about the making of a Goofy movie and how it's secretly the blackest movie of all time.
And this whole joke about like, oh yeah, well, we thought he meant this guy should be like, the CEO of animation now, but we didn't realize it was this dude because
Yeah,
they kind of have
they
like the same
accidentally
name.
hire the one black animator and make him the head of
Yes.
animation, and so he, like, takes over the entire Goofy movie project. Dude, okay, you gotta watch it. It'll blow your mind.
And
You too,
I'm
Barum, you too,
Oh,
both of
I'm
you.
fully on board. This is more
And
than
then
enough
Gavin already called
excitement
it,
for
like,
me.
once you guys do that, we will full on,
No,
like,
seriously. Okay, look. All
because
right.
we always when the last so they released season 3 and 4 on top of each other, like, "Hey, we're wrapping out the show." After a long hiatus, they took a huge gap between 2 and 3 and 4 because of COVID and some other things, blah, blah, blah. So when it finally came out, like, it was separated by a couple months, but we binged through it. We put both of those seasons collectively on our year end. Like we said, that's the best of that year, like those 2 seasons combined. But we never properly went through and like talked about those last 2 seasons. So legitimately, I just want to throw it out here. Once you guys go through, there's no timeline on this, but like a 4-man pod for 4 seasons of Atlanta, 4 white guys talking about the blackest show ever made, I think would be some really good podcasting.
Can I wear
I
a
could,
bow tie while doing this?
dude.
You can wear whatever you want, Bear.
I wanted to
It
tell you
feels
also.
appropriate.
I saw so definitely that's the next thing I'm watching because I fucking burned through the 2 things you guys told me about. Um,
And they're only
but
30 minutes too. They're not long.
oh,
Like
dude,
it's super
I'm
quick.
gonna
Oh
It's not
yeah,
rip,
that much.
I'm gonna
you will
rip through that
you'll end up
show.
Yeah.
crushing a season in like a day. I
Yeah.
know you will.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have too much time on my hands right now. Uh, I watched American Fiction, so everybody fell asleep last night, and I was like, this one might only be something that I'd feel like watching. But
Yeah.
so I watch it, laughing out loud the entire fucking movie.
Just dude, it was a great
Very
theater
glad to
watch.
hear
Like I
that.
honestly haven't seen a comedy in theaters in a while with like a decent sized crowd where like everybody was like actually into it. I was like, dude, I
Who
fucking
plays
forget how
the
like fun that
actor?
is.
The actor from This Is Us who plays his gay surgeon
Sterling K.
brother,
Brown. Sterling K. Brown.
fucking murdered. I was
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, he's
him crying, just
incredible.
doing coke in every
dude. He's
scene.
up for best supporting actor. Jeffrey Wright's up for best actor. I was pretty knocked out by it because also it's one of those movies that does not even the marketing I feel like is way more in your face than the actual movie is, where, like, the movie makes its points in, like, very
Very
subtle,
subtle, very subtle.
just very smart ways, and it's one of those where I, like it took me a minute where I was like, "That was a fucking good movie," and then I sat in the parking lot and I just, like, kinda thought about it for a minute, and I was like, "That was a fucking great movie." Like, that had that,
I
like,
did
it had everything that I complain about in, like, a lot of modern entertainment, especially in the last couple of years, which is the issues driven stuff that is like, here's what Facebook is. Oh my god, the world is shit. Fuck. Ah," and doesn't present any sort of like, but here's a way that we could make that better, or like blah blah blah. And so I'm like, okay, so you're
Smart.
making a movie about representation, right? And so you have all the like not the obvious, but the like smart, super witty like jokes that would come to mind about that. But meanwhile, your actual narrative of the movie that you're making is what you're advocating for, which is just like this is just like an everyday slice of life of like a normal person who happens to be black. Like, by the way, this is literally what we're advocating for is like representation that is just like not sensationalized, just like, "Hey, we're just people like every fucking body else is," and
And
it's
they
like
do it by
the
making the family
movie
rich.
exactly. I'm like,
Funny smart.
literally, the movie they're making is like the piece of art that he wishes he could make, like,
Yeah.
is the story he wishes he could tell. It's just dude,
And his girlfriend is a wealthy black
it's
lawyer,
so
and it's just yeah, it's great, dude. It's just so good, so good.
dude, and the idea dude, again, without spoiling, I know you guys all haven't seen it or whatever, but, like, his, like the family friend and the local, like, security guy
Love that
who get
scene or
together,
that whole.
all of that, like, mini story, I was like, "That shit," like, that's what you're advocating for essentially is, like, we never see that story, like, you never see that relationship between those 2 characters, and it's like, "Oh, I put it in this movie." It's just
The
it's a little
the
shit like that where I
comedy
was just like, it just knocked it out of the park on every level,
the
dude.
comedy was reminiscent. There was many scenes, like so many scenes where, you know how like in Wes Anderson movies, there's someone out of frame chiming into something that's more directly in
Mhm.
frame, and it's just pitch perfect timing or whatever. There's like a lot of that shit going on that just had me just crying throughout the movie, and I was just like, God, this is fucking so good. But
Dude,
anyway, I
uh,
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Gavin,
I wouldn't know. Wouldn't know
oh,
a thing
no,
about it.
I was just gonna say, uh, El
Yeah, I
Coche
know.
Loco makes an appearance in there.
Oh, okay.
The crazy pig.
Oh, Gavin hasn't
He's
seen
his
it yet?
agent. Yeah, yeah, no, he hasn't seen it yet.
Oh,
Haven't
sorry,
seen.
I'll stop
Yeah.
talking.
No,
Gavin and
No,
I will
that's
sure
fine.
I
will
think we
enjoy it.
talked about it in an abstract enough way that it didn't, like it doesn't spoil any plot
No,
points.
I
It's
mean,
just like, that's the
yeah,
things
I'll
I
watch it at some
yeah,
point. I'm gonna have a lot of not free time, but I'll have a lot of downtime at some point.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this is like
Um,
they're like potatoes basically for like the first month. It's awesome. Just feed them, they poop and change them, and then they
Yeah.
keep. It's great. We watched a
is
shit ton
is this
during
the
that
time
first
to
month.
finally announce it, Gavin, on the tail end of this episode?
Yeah, we can. We just slowly put in here. So, scheduled for next Thursday, the 22nd, about 8 o'clock. If all goes well, about 30, 45 minutes later, you'll be an uncle, Noah.
And yeah, and the next time you hear Gavin on a podcast, he'll be a father.